So today I'm here with Greg, my good friend Greg, and this is perfect because we're doing a podcast and he is the master of podcasts. A beautiful setup we have here today, all done by him in my shop in Fresno in Phoenix. I wanted to give a quick trigger warning. We're going to be talking about some stuff that might be a little sensitive topic to some people. So if you're easily squirmish or don't like hearing about certain things, then this might not be the episode for you. But we're going to be talking about mental health awareness, suicide awareness, and just some personal experiences I've had. So, this episode is going to be aired on August 26th. It's a pretty important day for me. It is the day that I found my dad when he took his own life. And that might be hard for some people to hear, but I kind of want to talk about my experience and how it shaped me as a person and help take away the stigma that it has, just to the general public and when people hear that. Because after I shared a lot of stuff online last time because I made a post about it last year. I think it was more of a text post, and now I want to kind of talk about it in person. But a lot of people reached out to me, and since then, I've had an overwhelming amount of people tell me about their own personal experiences with it in their life. And a lot of people that I know in my life have had someone in their life that has also taken their own life, and it's a lot more common than people seem to realize.
It's a big epidemic,
Big issue.
especially in this country for sure.
Yeah, and I also was saying that it's nice that we have a member of our military here because
Prior service.
because it's a wide epidemic in our military too. Why do you think that is?
It's it's tough. The military is comprised mostly of men. Like we can get into the specifics about the statistics of more men or more women tend to either attempt or follow through with the suicides, but it's definitely very prolific in the military. A lot of it has to do with PTSD, stress, how people handle those stressful situations. It's just a very in the military, you're basically sacrificing yourself for the group. And so, the whole idea is even in war, right? There's a simple concept is that, someone's supposed to lay down their, jump on the barbed wire so everyone can cross. That guy's probably not going to make it. And it's and warfare has become even more unforgiving. It was bad before. It's still bad now, but it's a lot less human than before. I mean, it was still pretty bad and barbaric before, but now it's you're literally getting killed by robots, drones and stuff. So it's kind of psychologically, it's literally
Side tangent maxing.
I'm sorry, it's kind of become a game. So
robots and there's drones
and there's different there's just a million things trying to kill you on the battlefield.
That men are disposable. To summarize,
it's part of it. Societally, men are disposable, but the military is one of the best forms of that because if you think about it, right, the military programs people for war. You're trained for war. That's what you do. You get a lot of people in combat arms or special operations. They get rewired for it. So basically, when they try to reacclimate to the civilian world, the wiring is it's like trying to take a Belgian Malinois and treat it like a house dog, like a golden retriever. The Belgian Malinois is gonna tear the whole place apart. But you put the Belgian Malinois in the environment that it's for, totally cool. Mentally, just cool as a cucumber. That's why some people work really well in chaotic situations because
it keeps them distracted.
It might be that, but it's literally that's just what their new normal, what they're programmed for. So if you put them in
it's easy to not think about all the trauma you've experienced if you're constantly on alert and reacting to chaotic situations.
There's that too, but so one of my buddies who kind of brought this concept to me. He was old Delta Force guy. He got blown up in Iraq in 2005, and then he got medically retired. And his journey, which was really tough, was he had made his way practically to an Olympic level athlete, but within the military, which is Delta Force, right? The best. Gets blown up, and now it's like you were on the Super Bowl team and now you're not on the Super Bowl team anymore. So it's like, he was a fit guy, he was an amazing shooter, incredibly intelligent, still is. But then when he got out of the hospital, he went from being what the military equivalent is like a Super Bowl team to being like, he went to the gym, he was so atrophied, he couldn't even lift the bar. So he was like mentally destroyed for a long time. And it's like, I'm not saying that happens to necessarily everybody, but like part of the reason why the military has big issues is that one, there's the trauma from combat, there's the being kind of displaced out of the norm that they've wired you for. Like say you take someone whose job is to do close with the enemy and destroy them, and you put them in a civilian environment, they just don't know how to process anything anymore. And so it's like, the Belgian Malinois just goes crazy and tears up the whole house. And you're wondering, is it you? Is it them? And it's really just, that's just how they're made. And
So this is how I feel about, because the suicide statistic for military men is a lot higher than the average American man, or I don't know the statistics for non-Americans, but men in general in our society are taught from a young age to be strong, don't show your emotions, don't cry, don't let yourself feel your emotions. And I think that's the same for people in the military too, but it's to a greater extent because you have to be even stronger if you are in the military. You have a lot more expectations put on your shoulders, and you're also surrounded by other people who have those same expectations of be strong, don't be emotional, don't show your emotions, don't feel your emotions. And I think that what you're saying about if you go into combat and you have all of this trauma, it amplifies that to the 10th fold because you're experiencing, all of these emotions, these negative emotions that a normal man would experience in society, but you're experiencing them times 10 if you're going through traumatic stuff, especially if you're in combat. Because I mean, these statistics go through for even people who aren't in combat situations. You're way more likely to commit suicide if you've been in the military as a man, even if you haven't gone through traumatic things. And I think that's just with the perpetuating the idea of not feeling your emotions and not experiencing your emotions and not dealing with your emotions, but it makes it a lot worse if you do go through traumatic stuff.
yeah, it's basically compounded, right? So going to therapy and stuff is very stigmatized in the military. It's gotten better, but during the height of the war, it was definitely like looked down upon.
Yeah.
Um, and so like the military is great at turning people into weapons and tools. It's not very good at taking care of them after. Like one of the things that we kind of concluded was that over the course of human history, soldiers were basically not meant to outlive war. So that's why like, we have all this so-called like great care now, but it's just really like even like transitioning people out of the military, the process is really not that great.
I think that even from a young age, as a society, we push this idea that even young boys, they'll cry and their father or someone in class will be like, "Why are you crying? Stop crying." And it's men from even a young age, regardless of the military, society shows them that they shouldn't be in touch with their emotions. When if a little girl cries, they get comforted and they're like, what's wrong, and they're not like, don't cry. They expect that from women, almost like women are expected to be emotional and they're allowed to be emotional, and that's why women are able to feel and express their emotions and communicate with people a lot more. And I feel like that is why women end up committing suicide less, even though we talked about the attempt rate is really similar. But I feel like
Follow through for men.
at least for women they have a place where they can talk to people usually, but for men they usually don't end up talking about anything.
So like even right now, like there's like the male loneliness epidemic. It's like there's a lot of like male isolation. Like there's just a lot of guys out there are just like they're isolated. Like, and another example of that is like when people get out of the military, like they're with a group of people before that they're with every day, they work with every day, they all go through very similar experiences, and then you get thrown back into regular society, and that no, like the dynamics completely different. It's very like
Well, what's the last time you sat down with a guy friend and talked about your feelings?
uh it doesn't happen well. I think what guys tend to talk about, well, we tend to talk about like what's going on in our lives and like
But do you talk about how it affects you mentally, how you're feeling, or do you just talk about like what's going on?
it's like it's still bonding. It's just a different, like we talk about, I'm trying to think of like a different way of processing information. Like I know like even guys that go to war and they go to war together and they come back, they need what's called like off gassing time. Like the problem with war now is like you can literally go to war today and then be back in the United States like the next day, and you have no time to decompress or anything for that.
Yeah.
Even then, back in like World War II, like you'd be on a boat for like 3 months before you got home, like a month or whatever before you got
Yeah.
home. So you had time to like sit with the guys and process like
Yeah, but like even on that time, even on that boat back, do you think those guys were talking to each other about how their experiences affected them mentally and emotionally?
I think it's kind of a mix. It kind of comes down to the person. Like some people will deal with it by just not talking to anybody, and which happens a lot because like in warfare, like Vietnam's a great example. It's like you really didn't want to become friends with anybody because that kid you just met, the replacement kid, life expectancy is like 15 minutes or something like that. So it's like
Okay, okay,
people
you're going
people.
back into military. Let's,
I,
let's,
well, I know
let's
it's
go back. Rewind.
yeah.
Holy tangent. Sometimes I just like zone out too, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
wait, we're still not talking about what. Okay. When's the last time you talked about your feelings with one of your friends?
I mean, it's probably been a while.
How long? And your feelings, not something that
Yeah,
happened to
I'm
you.
trying to like
And I don't want to hear like anger is not the feeling that you, because
oh, yeah.
obviously you talk about getting pissed off, and that's like,
Yeah, like we discussed like
when's the last time you talked
situations.
about your feelings, your genuine feelings to one of your friends?
It's probably been a long time.
And it's
Like
the
yeah,
thing about it is think about if you wanted to, if you genuinely wanted, like you were depressed, right? And you wanted to express that to one of your friends. If you went and sat down with them, it's something that doesn't happen enough where it would feel so awkward to even try to have that conversation. And that's why a lot of people just don't. They just don't want to have, because it's
because it's
having that,
awkward. Yeah,
it's hard. Like those conversations are hard, especially when they're not brought up like a lot
yeah, 'cause
for.
you might feel like you're imposing on them too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And as a society, that's exactly how men feel, you know? It's like don't have emotions. Like that's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to deal with your own emotions. So if you're not good, that's no one's responsibility. Like you're supposed to be the leader, you're supposed to be the strong one. Being depressed isn't seen as strong, it's seen as a weakness. But for women, we talk about our feelings every single day we see each other. If we're sad, if we're happy, if anything we're feeling, we're communicating
this
it
is
with each other.
constantly being let out.
Yeah, and so if we're not like if we're feeling really sad, like it's just so much more normalized for us to talk about it. You know, and we have an outlet, and I know talk therapy is only one form of therapy, but it's really important in general if people are feeling mental, sadness or depression, that they try to find some kind of outlet to get help, but the first step is telling someone that you want to get help or you're not okay. And I think a lot of men don't feel like they can take that first step because
Yeah,
of
what's
the
that
hard
like reaching out?
conversation. Yeah, exactly. And how could you even get the help you need if having the first conversation feels so
You
hard?
know, it kind of reminds me. I was trying to remember, like if you like went on Google and like for example, like I know it's like if typically like if you were googling for like an answer for like resources for like mental health and stuff for like women, a lot of times stuff will pop out, but then I can't remember, but I could have sworn somewhere like if you googled the same thing for men, the amount of resources that would pop up is like next to
Yeah.
like none.
Yeah.
There's like a lot less. And
Yeah.
it's like since like you were saying, like society is like the way it's structured, the way it's built, um, the way men are raised and whatnot. It's just kind of just indoctrinated from the beginning that you really just kind of like keep it to
So
yourself.
the thing, I was watching a debate against conservative versus progressive men. It was like 25 and 25, and there was one topic where they were talking about, is being depressed weak? And that was the core topic. And each side had its own opinion on
Yeah,
what that
I just think
means.
that's
But the core idea of it, for me at least, is letting yourself stay in a state of depression is weakness. But if you are seeking help in any way, in any single way, then you're showing strength. And it's strong to admit when you need help, and it's okay to need help. But as long as you're doing anything in your power to reach out to someone or tell someone or even just looking online for things that might help you, like that is a form of strength and that we should encourage that in our society.
Yeah, I think like uh, for some people it's really hard because like depression can feel a lot like a trap
Yeah.
sometimes. So it's like I think like I think a really great example might make sense in the movie The Dark Knight Rises. Like I mean, I'm a movie guy, so but it's like one of my favorite inspirational scenes where like, Batman is thrown into this prison, this pit in the ground. And it's like there's no chains or nothing. Like if you want to be free, all you got to do is climb out. But
Yeah.
it's incredibly dangerous. So
Yeah.
it's like most people that attempt it like don't make it.
Yeah.
Almost pretty much everyone. So it's like what's crazy about that prison is you can see the light. The
Yeah.
light is literally right there. And so, but no one else is willing to like make that journey to go
Yeah.
up because it takes so much courage and it's like it's tough and like what I love about that movie is you see like a broken man realizing like he's super determined to get back to his city because he knows what's going on and he basically has to like go through this like rebuilding restructuring like really kind of recovering from falling and then finally climbing. And I think
Yeah.
what was interesting about that is that he didn't make it, like he tried several times to get out, but he didn't get out until he fully like let go and embrace, like he was still holding on to something
Yeah.
like a safety net or whatever, but it was until he fully let go of that he was actually able to jump, make it out. And like what was interesting about just that whole journey, it was like the whole like one of my favorite quotes in that movie is like victory has defeated you. And like some people they kind of like they get they get I'm trying to think, like some people rest on their success and then something crushes them and then they fall to pieces and then they have to like learn how to pick themselves up and come up. But
Yeah,
I'm
depression is just, it's very interesting because it's obviously a mental state, and there's studies shown that there's hormonal imbalances, and you can get into the nuance of are those hormonal imbalances made by the way that we're thinking, because the way that we think actually does change our body in a physical way. So changing the way that you think about things and going from a place of hopelessness to seeing the light and being like, there is hope. I am gonna
yeah
try in any way that that might be to try to get better. And even with patients in the hospital that are dealing with any signs of sickness, the doctors say that the patients who get better are the ones who have the right mindset. It's not about, like, they'll tell a patient, I know a guy that he had cancer, and they said you have a month to live, like say goodbye to everyone, and he said, I'm not dying here, and the doctor laughed at him.
yeah he I mean yeah he had the right mindset to get out of there. Like I said, for some people depression feels like a prison with no chains.
Yeah.
um
And like it's about that, am I willing to try? Am I willing to try to start climbing? And for a lot of people, especially those kinds of people that end up taking their lives, they see that everyone else that's tried, failed, so why would I even try? And then they end up giving up, you know? But what I wanted to talk about too was, we talked a little bit about trying to have those hard conversations to even get people to open up to start the ball rolling, and to lead this back into my relationship with my father. To preface this, my dad was an amazing father growing up. He always wanted to make sure me and my brother were taken care of. He was like the smartest person I've ever met, electrical engineer, and taught me everything I know in
mhm.
life. And so I don't remember him based off of the last part of his life. That was a little hiccup on his part. But I, towards the end of his life, would sit down with him. And I was about 19 at the time. And I would sit down with him and try to have those hard conversations with him, because I knew that he was struggling mentally. And like, it's pretty easy to see sometimes. And for some people, it's not, Some people mask it really well. But towards that time in his life, like it was easy for us to see, and I would try to sit down and I'd try to have those conversations with him and go, look, if you need to talk, like I'm here to talk, and he'd just laugh at me. He'd be like, talking's not going to do anything.
Well, what was the thing that was causing him to struggle?
So what caused him to struggle in life was he had a lot of trauma from his childhood. And I think that it's always a combination of people not dealing with things in their past and not allowing themselves to grieve their like feel their emotions fully, even if it's not talk therapy. Men and women should be completely safe to feel their emotion and go through it and deal with it in the way that they see fit. But the answer is not ignoring it. And people, every single person in this society, even me included, we all look for ways to hide what we're feeling. Like if you're feeling not good, whether that's drugs, alcohol, those are the bad ways
Yeah.
to deal with it. Some people deal with it in productive ways where they'll bury themselves in work or they'll bury themselves in the gym. But those still aren't good ways to deal with your emotions. You should allow yourself to sit and like feel it, because if you don't
It's
sit
like
and
a
feel it,
band-aid, but not like a cure.
exactly,
Yeah.
and you can do it in like health, you can deal with it in healthier ways, but if you're not sitting down and really experiencing the core of your emotion, you're not going to get rid of it. It's going to stick inside your body somewhere and it's going to express itself in different ways. So he had a lot of trauma growing up, and he was raised, in this society, in this household where it's like, don't feel your emotions, be a man, be strong. And he had a lot of issues throughout his life, and then he didn't deal with them and he didn't find healthy ways to deal with them. He used alcohol to cope, and that is a lot of people in America,
Mhm.
and I mean it's around the world, because society also pushes.
Or it becomes like a crutch. Yeah.
Yeah, and society pushes alcohol. Like you'll go outside, like you look at like gas stations are all over the windows. It's like you look everywhere. It's weed, alcohol, nicotine. It's all shoved down your throat.
A lot of those places are like either intentionally or intentionally strategically placed as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, our society, we could go into that, but it markets to feed off of weak people, and especially to go, this is your crutch, here you go. So he struggled with alcohol a lot throughout his life, and that was his band-aid. Everyone has theirs. And for me, after he died, my band-aid was throwing myself into work and throwing myself into the gym. And that's a healthier way to deal with things, but it's not the answer.
Yeah,
It's a band-aid.
it's not ultimately still not resolving the unresolved. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I tried to get him to talk towards the end of his life, and he wasn't open to that. He had never talked ever, and he'd never gone to therapy. He wouldn't open up to anyone, and never opened up to anyone. Like, that's just who he was. And there's a lot of men that are like that. They just don't want to talk about their emotions. And if you try to start talking about emotional stuff with them, they'll shut down and go silent.
Yeah, some people tend to, yeah, like you said, just completely shut down. They're just not comfortable talking about it, and
But why are they shutting down? Because they're feeling an emotion, and like whether that's sadness or anxiety or anger, they don't want to express it and they don't want to show you that they're
yeah,
feeling an emotion. So instead of trying to talk and maybe start crying or like getting all flustered, they just go silent.
yeah, it's like some people they'll either reach a breaking point when they start talking about it, or they just have to be in a situation where they feel safe. So you can
But
get started, but it's
is
very
there
hard for
ever a
that. Yeah.
situation where these kinds of men in our society who have never opened up to anyone feel safe to do that?
It's very few and far between. It's very
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
And I think this is a really good example of we need more strong men in our society being more okay with talking about their emotions and showing that just because you're struggling with something doesn't make you weak, and that we shouldn't stigmatize being in lower places of mental states just because you're there. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. I feel like there's, especially now that like we've kind of gotten past the war too. It's like it's talking about it is a lot more acceptable now than it was before. I mean,
Yeah.
like, because I mean, you've seen like there's lots of military guys that are on like podcasts now talking about all their experiences and stuff. It's like it's finally like it seems like people are finally letting the pressure off and they're finally starting to talk about their
It's definitely
experiences, and
getting better. Like
definitely getting better.
it's getting
Yeah.
better for sure, but it's not in a place where it's good
It's still
yet.
not it's not great yet, which is like we've just started letting some of the pressure out a little bit. But it's not like
Yeah,
there's
and
still tons of pressure
yeah, and
left.
even with those people who go on podcasts and they talk about their experiences, they're not talking about their feelings. They're talking about their experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it's still very stigmatized, and men still are seen as weak, or see themselves as weak if they get that vulnerable, which for me personally, I think that it takes a lot more strength to be able to open up and to talk about your emotions and to talk about hard things to talk about instead of bottling it up and pretending like it doesn't exist. Like that's easy. Getting angry, getting pissed off, being mean, that's easy. Anyone can do that. Staying soft, staying caring, staying open, like staying loving, even when things go wrong, even when people piss you off, that takes so much more strength and so much more grit than just reacting to things. Taking a second to calm down and calm yourself.
Yeah, like it's funny you mentioned that because I think I went through something similar recently. Like someone upset me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a pause. I'm not gonna say anything that I don't regret. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of time and come back to the
Yeah.
problem and like resolve it that way. And then I'm working out better that way.
No, everything will
Yeah.
always work out a lot better
There,
if you don't react with anger. For a lot of men or a lot of society or a lot of people, not even just men, people in general see reactive men as strong. They see men that get in bar fights, they get pissed off and they're going to show that dude. They're going to show that dude who's boss because you're not going to talk to me like that. And they see that as strong, but being reactive is not strong, and not being able to control your emotions to the point where you're crashing out on a random person because they called you short.
yeah,
That doesn't make you a strong person.
yeah, it has to be more calculated because it's like it just shows someone that you're just not intelligent enough to figure out if the risk is worth it. That's why even a lot of like self-defense classes and stuff like that, or even like with guns, it's like, hey, if you don't have to get into a gunfight, don't get into a
It's not
gunfight.
worth
Yeah,
it ever to get into an altercation with anyone unless they're threatening yourself or somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah.
And it's a lot of those little things where men will get reactive and they think that for some reason you're not supposed to be emotional as a man, and women are more emotional than men, but nobody considers that anger is an emotion, and
Yeah,
anger is the main driving cause factor of violent crimes, and I think like 90 something percent of violent
oh
crimes are
yeah,
caused by men. Which, why are women seen as more emotional when men are like they're more angry? You know what I mean? Not to like generalize, but anger is an emotion, and that is a secondary emotion to something else, whether that's
yeah.
insecurity, anxiety,
It's like you're
sadness.
talking about the lashing out.
Yeah, and anger is always a secondary. Anger is not a primary emotion that we feel. It's always secondary to some other belief that we're holding
Yeah,
that it's not getting expressed in the beginning. You
no,
know what
that's true. I mean that there's always like a stimulus there that that brings it out, and then when the people don't know how to process those emotions, they lash out.
Yeah. And so I also want to talk about so the whole reason we're doing this is obviously because I had a father that, took his own life. And when I first experienced that, I was really angry. And I think that's a very valid emotion.
Like angry at him or angry at the whole situation.
I was angry about him because I was like, why would you do that to me or my family? I was pissed off. I was pissed off at myself because I blamed myself. I was just angry at the situation,
Yeah.
and like a why me. But I was the one that found him. I was going to check up on him. I was going to my parents' house to bring him out to lunch because I hadn't heard from him in a few days. We weren't the kind of people who texted,
Hmm.
but I had texted him something. He hadn't responded to me. And so I was like, okay, I told my brother that I was going to go see him tomorrow night or tomorrow morning and take him out to lunch. My brother was like, okay, I'm probably going to go head over there tonight and see like how he's doing. And for whatever reason, my brother did not go to their house that night. So I went there the next day and I had found him, and he used one of the largest handguns that they make, like a Desert Eagle. So it wasn't just like a normal sight to see. I saw a splay of the entire room had to be restorated, and luckily I was the only person who saw that, because as soon as I saw it, first of all, I started freaking the fuck out. And my parents' dogs were there too, so they were freaking out. And, I was freaking out, but I was also giving myself a moment to just be like, okay, like that's not gonna, I'm no way I can save him. Like, he's already gone. And so I call my brother and I tell my brother what had happened, and he's like, have you called the police? And I was like, what the, no. I'm like, can I have a second? Like, I just need a second. Like, I don't. And so he called the police, which was great, because then the police showed up, and I was just like, I had went downstairs and I was just calming down and everything, and so the police show up and I was like, okay, cool, hi, welcome into my house. And then from there it turned into a murder investigation, which was super fun, which makes sense. But so my mom was actually out of town at that point, so she got a call and was driving 2 hours to come see me and my brother. So she was freaking out, everyone was freaking out, because like, what do you even do in that situation, like, it's such like a, everything's good and then everything's not good.
And it just goes to shit. And
Yeah,
you're
and you're
just
sitting
like,
there in disbelief, and you're just like, is this real? Is reality real?
did it happen?
Did this actually just happen? Did I just see that? And yeah, thank God that I was the only one that saw that, because I have no idea how my brother or my mom would be if they had to go through something like that. So yeah, I got to be there with my brother, my mom, and everything, and got to be investigated by the police, which, fuck that police officer that made a joke about it. That was fucked up. Not cool. Not cool, Mr. Officer. I don't remember your name. But I was just like, how are you making a joke
like,
about it right now?
Do that.
Crazy. But yeah, I was angry. I was pissed. I was like, he didn't know that I was gonna be the one to find him, right? So I was mostly pissed off because I was like, you did this for my mom to find this? I was like, that's fucked up. Which, in hindsight, he wasn't thinking about it, Like, people aren't thinking about how it's going to impact other people when they go and do that. They're just thinking about how hopeless their life feels and how they're in that hole. And so, looking back at it now, I have a lot of empathy for him and the situation in general. And since then, I've really learned that, to let go of those negative emotions that I had surrounding the whole situation, surrounding him for not reaching out, to not talking to me, to not
just kind of like better understand what he was going through.
And I think this reflects really into a lot of things in life, where we'll start out angry at someone about something, and later on, or maybe never, but we all as people should get better about changing that negative emotion to empathy and trying to better understand where that person was coming from and why they did what they did. And empathy is not forgiveness. You don't have to forgive someone for what they did, but at least understanding them will help you not feel those negative emotions towards them, if that makes sense.
No, that does. Yeah.
But after experiencing that, my whole being shifted. Like, I stopped thinking so much about little things that didn't matter. Everything seemed so insignificant after something like that happened, and it really changed my entire perspective, where I went from, oh my gosh, this outfit looks bad, or some stupid shit, and it all just went, nothing matters as much. Like, the only shit that matters is making sure your people are okay, and that you're telling your friends you love them, and you're telling your family you love them. Like, none of those stupid things that you think are important in the moment are really that important. And it just zooms out. Like, everything zoomed out. And it also gave me this sense of, well, I just went through like the worst shit I think I could ever experience, hopefully. Hopefully I could ever experience. And so going into opening a tattoo shop, going into leaving our old mentor, because that was crazy, or going into even having really difficult conversations with people in general, made everything seem so much easier to me. And one of the hardest parts in life is having hard conversations. That's that's something that everybody is still getting better at that. I'm still getting better at that, but especially having hard conversations with people before they need to happen, and knowing and pushing yourself to make the first step to have those hard conversations. And I tried, before he died, but
Mm-hmm.
just talking about personal relationships where, something made you a little upset, and maybe I'll just brush this off, but it'd be better if I just told this person how I felt, and
Yeah.
in a way that's not angry, in a way that's just like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like, this is how I feel. And those are the conversations that we as people just need to have more of, and we need to stop taking things so personally, because after my dad died and after he took his life, I took it so personally, and it was never about me. And my mom and my brother, they took it so personally, and it was never about them.
Mm-hmm.
It was about his mental state.
Yeah, and what he was going through.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, when they look at suicide, they resent the person, and they're like, how could you do that? Like, we loved you. Like, how could you leave us? Like, it's so selfish of you. But I think my perspective on it now is, it's really selfish of us as the grievers
To not like,
to like be mad at them for not staying for us, because they're in a place where they feel hopeless and they feel like
yeah.
they don't want to be here anymore. How dare I be like mad at
I
them?
wonder if it's also a little bit of guilt too,
Oh, it's
because
100% a mixed bag of a lot of different
yeah,
emotions.
because it's like, the person needed help, but maybe you saw signs, maybe you didn't, but like you didn't like act or didn't like say
And as
anything
I
or
said
didn't
before, like, anger is always a secondary emotion to a different emotion that you're feeling, whether it's insecurity or regret or guilt.
guilt.
Exactly. And you use anger to mask the deeper feelings that you don't want to confront, you don't want to see. But yeah, as a person, it fundamentally changed me, and it changed me for the better. It wasn't obviously a good experience to have, and we talked about before, you can go through something really traumatic and come out the other side of it. You can go through something really traumatic and become a really shitbag person.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter the experience that you go through, whether it's traumatic or not traumatic. It just matters your mindset moving forward, and is this going to be a new day? Who are you going to be today? Like, who are you? How are you going to treat people?
Yeah, because you're talking about the basically post traumatic growth and post traumatic stress, and like it's actually it's sort of related, but it's kind of interesting how you describe that, because it's actually very similar to a lot of times in stories, heroes and villains basically are like the same person. What makes them different is like how they react to the same trauma.
Yeah,
So like the person who ends up being the hero has the post-traumatic growth, and the person who ends up being the villain is the one who has like the post-traumatic stress, and they use that, they want to share their pain with other people,
yeah,
versus the people that end up becoming the hero, they want to prevent people from experiencing that pain.
exactly.
But no, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting that you mentioned that.
I think another side note of something, a revelation that I had after my dad died, because, you know, you have something really traumatic happen to you, and you're very internally focused after that. You're very focused on your emotions. And I was moving through life after that, looking around and seeing that people don't treat me differently. No one knows what I just went through, no one knows what I just saw. And people die all the time. Everyone has a loved one at some point that's dying, dead, or sick.
Mm-hmm.
We never know as humans where someone is in that stage. And all of us should just do better about being kinder to people, especially when you meet someone who's reactive, and just taking a second and going, why are they being reactive? Maybe this has nothing to do with me. Maybe their sister just died. Maybe their mom just died. You have no idea what they're going through. And it just opened my eyes up to that a lot.
Yeah, there's like a couple of my friends. They have the same. They have a saying like, it doesn't cost anything to be nice or to be kind, because you never know.
And that's what we're talking about
Yeah,
too, with being nice is a lot harder than being mean. It's super easy to shut
it's
people
very
out
easy to
and be
be
a
mean.
dick.
Yeah.
It's easy. And I see it as weak. Like, you're an asshole to people all the time. It's weakness. It's a sign of weakness. It's way harder for someone to say something mean to you, and you to just go, "Okay," and not react to it and not internalize it. because if you genuinely believe that what someone is saying to you is true, then that's why you'll react to it. But if it's not true and you don't think it's true, then you would have no reason to react to it.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's a trying to remember the exact quote in Stoicism, but basically, when something happens, there's two people complicit, and like you becoming angry is like complicit to like letting the people hurt you. Yeah.
So also
Because you can choose not to be hurt.
with that too, anger is a really good signal to some belief that we hold, right? So if you say something about me, maybe you're like, well, I think you're a liar, and that pisses me off. It's a signal. I'm like, some part of me thinks that you might be telling the truth, or else I wouldn't get pissed off. Because if I was wearing a black shirt and you go, hey, I hate you, you're wearing white, I hate the color white, and it's like, well, I'm wearing a black shirt, so that doesn't have anything to do with me. It's the same way with when people criticize us or come at us. If they're telling something that we think might be true, when we get upset about it, it's a signal.
Personal,
yeah, but if they're saying that stuff to us and in our heart we believe that whatever they're saying is not true, no reason to react to it. So anger is just a secondary thing to a belief system that we hold, which is really good. I think that I do want to get into a little bit about how I dealt with the trauma that I went through, because people ask if I went to talk therapy, and I've been to talk therapy, but not actually for that, which is kind of interesting. I've been to like different relationship wise talk therapy, which I think is very beneficial for when you and another person don't agree with something, and like having a third party just like being like, this is what they're saying, this is what, very, very beneficial.
You mean like translating?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I've done therapy in that sense, but I've never done talk therapy to talk about my trauma regarding my dad. But what we were talking about before with coping mechanisms, whether it's good, healthy ones like the gym or work, or bad ones like
things that are unhealthy and unproductive. Yeah.
One of the things that I have found that most people don't do, and people should start doing, and I try to talk about this as much as I can in my day-to-day life and with my friends and with people around me that I love, is that you need to be able to get present to feel your emotions. And the best way to get present is by meditating. And this isn't talked about enough. And a lot of times, if you haven't tried meditating before, or anyone who's watching hasn't tried meditating before, and you go, well, my brain can't do that. It's always like, go, go, go. Like, I can't quiet my mind. Meditation isn't trying to force your mind to be quiet. It's just bringing yourself back to presence. And our society is built around constantly putting things in front of your face in order to keep you not present. You're always thinking about the next thing. You're getting a like, a tweet. There's ads in your face.
Somewhere else.
Lights flashing. Yeah. And so our society is directed to keep us not present. It's really important that we as people put some kind of time into meditating, whether it's a minute a day or 5 minutes a day. For me, I was diagnosed with ADHD growing up, and so my brain moves a mile a minute. And so when I first started meditating, I actually started meditating before my dad died, and then I got way more into it afterwards. But when I first started meditating, I couldn't hold focus for even a minute without drifting.
So how do you meditate?
So there's a lot of different ways that I meditate, but I'm going to go into I couldn't focus for more than a minute. I started doing it like day after day for 5 minutes at a time. I was doing breath work, which I basically would do. You can do like an 8-second inhale, 4-second out. Like, you can change it to however you want to do it. For me nowadays, I like to try to start with as long as I can in, hold, and as long as I can out, hold. And it's going to change depending on why you're doing it, if it's like to calm yourself down or to get into a certain meditative state. But just know that when you first start doing it, you're not going to be good at it. It's like any other skill, and you have to practice
to develop it.
Exactly. You have to practice to get better at it. And I also suggest for people who go, well, I don't know where to start. There are about a million bajillion videos on YouTube of guided meditations, whether it's a minute to 8 hours. Like, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And you can do guided meditations where you set a scene, or they can do guided meditations where it's just breath work, or you could even have certain kinds of music. Like, there's something for everyone.
I was gonna ask about that. Like, I wasn't sure if you listen to a certain kind of music, or do you have some kind of audio occlusion with like certain headphones or something so you can drown out the
So
environment so you can focus on like listening to the breathing or
the way that I meditate has really changed over the years, and it's changed in the way of depending on what you're trying to accomplish in your meditation, because whether you're trying to clear your mind or whether you're trying to observe your thoughts, whether you're trying to get into a really deep meditative state that's hours long, it just depends on what you're trying to do. If I was, for example, if I was very emotional one day and I just was trying to calm down and feel my emotions, I would do the really long breathe in, long breathe out technique. And when I first started meditating, I would start meditating, I'd start breathing, and I'd instantly start bawling. And this is a very, very common thing
hmm.
for people because we constantly distract ourselves so much with our phone, with our work, with our friends, with drinking, whatever it is. We are always so go, go, go till the moment we close our eyes to go to bed. And a lot of people can't sleep because they have their mind still racing, whether they're thinking about the past, whether they're thinking about the future. And so, for a lot of people, when they first start meditating, it brings up a lot of emotions that you're never allowing yourself to feel.
Because it's like finally quiet enough for the stuff that you've been suppressing to just kind of
Exactly.
rise up.
Exactly. And so it can feel like a lot to meditate at first. And it's a lot of digging through the dirt that you've been putting off for a very long time. And it's not a very fun thing at first, you know, it's not comforting at first because you're dealing with all this old turmoil that you never dealt with before. And so a lot of people just don't want to do it. I was giving another example. Besides meditation, sometimes I just allow myself to cry and to feel whatever I'm feeling and really sink into it and experience the emotion. And you said that, well, men, you know, they don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
They'd rather just, you know, do something and keep themselves busy. And that's what I was saying with that is a coping mechanism,
Mm.
you know, distracting your brain in a way where you're not sitting with whatever feeling you don't want to feel. And we also talked a little bit. We always talk when the cameras aren't rolling, but we talked a little bit about how like men don't cry, you know. But that's something that you're taught from a young age. You think little boys, toddlers, doesn't matter the gender, toddlers cry, young kids cry, and then at a certain age, they're taught boys are taught to not cry, and girls are said that like, you know, that's fine, it's allowed. You're emotional anyway.
You know, I was thinking too, like, you know, some of the guys do those activities, but a lot of those activities are done in isolation. And I wonder if it's done in isolation because, you know, who knows? Maybe people are actually wanting the isolation so they can feel the emotions without any guilt of having anyone around, and they're just not talking about it.
Yeah, it's also when you get into the spot where you're pushing an emotion down and you're trying to distract yourself with something so that you don't feel the emotion, you're very reactive.
Mm.
And it's not a good time to be around people because anything could piss you off.
Yeah, it can just like trigger you.
Someone
Yeah.
could breathe wrong and you could go off.
Mm.
You know, because you're trying really hard to not think about your emotions, so you get very
And they're still very
sensitive.
close to the surface. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's more so the reason why men isolate themselves is not because they want to go cry about something is some men do, you know, and I applaud that. I was telling you we need to allow men to cry more and you know, it doesn't have to be in the middle of public, you know. You don't got to show everyone your big crybaby. But being alone, no one can see you. It's fine. No one has to look. No one has to see. But allowing yourself to cry and to really feel the emotion and just be present with the emotions instead of distracting yourself with the task, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then getting into the more woo woo stuff, I wanted to kind of talk about this. It's a concept that a lot of people aren't going to understand, and some people might. And it's something that I don't want me talking about it or my experiences of this to be shoved down anyone's throats about what you should believe about religion or death
And
or
spirituality.
afterlife or spirituality. This is just my experience. This is just what I've gone through in my life. And if it resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, also perfectly fine. Um, but one of the biggest ways that I have coped, besides meditating, being present, allowing myself to feel my emotions, and I do also keep myself busy, that does help. Like, that is a good coping mechanism too, but like, pair it with some of the other things, you know? One of the really big ways that I've coped is I started talking to my father in dreams and in astral projection. And I could get into like very deep into the stories that I have surrounding this. But the first time that I met him in one of my dreams was right after he died. Right after he died, I was in a normal dream. It was like any other random ass dream. And my dad comes in and he pulls me out of it, pulls me straight out of my dream. And he goes, he's holding me like this. He's like, "Do you have the passwords?" Like screaming at me. I was like, "What are you talking about? You have the passwords." And I'm like, "What?" I was so confused. Like, "What the fuck? Where did you come from? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "To my computer." He was so worried that I or my mom or my brother didn't have his banking information, his computer password to get all of the files that we needed for to just live, without him. He was freaking out, and I was like, I think that Zach has it. Like, calm down. So that was my first experience with him, just in my dreams, like after he had died, and so that was very interesting. And I had a few after that, but during this time, I mean before this time too, I had been practicing getting better at astral projection. Was basically means is when your astral body, your energy body, your light body leaves your physical body
Mm.
when you're sleeping or in a meditative state, and you're able to travel and interact with people completely lucid, but in a separate body, in a
Okay, I'm
dream state.
very curious, like how that, like obviously, like film and television has like depicted that in a bunch of different ways, but I'm very
Yeah.
curious, like how does it,
You think
how
about
does
like
that, how does that feel or look in like real
feels
time?
very weird when you do it. Your body kind of feels like jello when you finally like. Because I had been working on astral projected projection for probably like a year and a half before I had actually done it. And preface this by saying that if you're not in like a really good protective mental state, astral projection
It's not
can
gonna
be
work.
not great. Well, no, like, you can do it.
Oh,
It's just not great because sometimes you can get sleep paralysis or start seeing shadow figures, and like just make sure you're confident that you're protected if you're in a space like that, because you're really susceptible to different energies
hmm.
when you do stuff
You're
like that.
vulnerable.
Yeah. So that's important to note, and I have a lot of like random side stories surrounding that, but that's not really like what we're getting into. So I've started learning how to astral project. The first time I did it, I realized that I did it a bunch when I was a kid, and everyone astral projects. They just usually don't remember it, or they think it's a dream. It's a
Really, it kind of like blurs the line between dreaming.
honestly, lucid dreaming and astral projection are really similar. The only things that I've found different about the two is that astral projection, you have your senses, like you can smell, taste, touch, you can feel temperature. Like it's like you're there. It's as real as you and me sitting here. Lucid dreaming, it's not that clear. But have you ever had a dream where you wake up and you're like, "Wow, I could taste the thing I was eating."
Mm,
That's
yeah,
astral projection.
really.
Everyone's done it. Everybody knows the feeling, or something feels so real that you're confused when you wake
I
up.
wonder if that's like unlocking like a portion of the brain that's not usually unlocked, or if that's something like, I don't know if it has to
So
do with
that's
like the
so
fourth
that's just
dimension
what
or
I'm
something,
describing
or
as astral projection, right?
mm,
Lucid dreaming is you're in your own psyche, and for me, I lucid dreamed all the time as a kid. I would fall asleep, I'd lay still, and I'd start creating my dream as I was falling asleep, and then like walk into it.
it's like Inception.
And I can't do that now as an adult.
Really?
I
Mm.
don't have that capability. I keep trying, and I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, no, I had way more control over my dreams. I'd be able to create them, manipulate them. I'd change the scene. Like I could
That's like
manipulate the people in
that's
the
like
dream.
literal. I mean, you've seen Inception, right?
Inception's
Yeah,
based on real.
it's based
It's
off.
based
It's
on real
based off of.
things. Yeah, I mean, this
So
is stuff people
fascinating.
can do, and this is stuff that I've done, and I used to do growing up, and I still lucid dream. I still astral project to this day. It's not as frequent as I did when I was a kid. Like it's here and there. But one of the most influential parts about me talking to my dad while astral projecting was I was in a lucid dream, and I was going about my dream, and I was in my parents' house, and I like see my dad in the corner of my eye like walking around the corner of my parents' house, and I was like, "Hey." And he was like, "Whoa, you can see me?" I was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And he was like, "Me?" It's like,
It's
"Yeah,
like
come
something
here."
from The Sixth
I was
Sense.
like, "Come here." And so we walk outside into my parents' backyard, and it was so surreal because my father looked like he had looked 10 years in the past.
Oh, he was like the younger version of
He
himself.
was it was like 10 years ago. He
Hmm.
had a lot more weight on him. He looked a lot healthier. He had like his beard was the same, like his hair was the same. It was crazy. And then when we walked in the backyard looked like my parents' house 10 years ago as well. And my dogs had been long dead since then. Like
Hmm.
my old dogs from 10 years ago were in the backyard. The pool fence was still up. Like all of these really minute details about how my parents' house was 10 years ago was how it was when we walked in the backyard. It was so interesting. So me and him walked out in the backyard and sat down at the table in the backyard, and it was kind of cold outside because I could remember feeling the table was metal and it was kind of cold, and he was just shocked to see me. He was like, "You want to talk to me? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "I just want to let you know, like, I'm doing really good. Like, I opened a tattoo shop. Like, I'm super successful. My mom's doing good. Like, my brother's doing good. Like, I just want to let you know that like we're doing better." And he was just like, "What?" He had no idea. And I think that what I've gathered from it now, looking back on it, is after he had taken his own life, he didn't want to see what the aftermath was. He was like, "We're
Uh,
not going to look into the future." So he went 10 years in the past because that was his safe space. And so when I went and talked to him, he was like, "Really? Like you guys are doing good?"
yeah.
And then after that day, after I had that dream, I started seeing his name everywhere. And not just his first name, like I would see his first and middle name together, like
Yeah.
him just
Hmm.
and he puts it all over the place. Like before that happened, like this had been like a very long time after he had died, and I didn't see his name anywhere, you know? And then I started seeing it every single day I'll see it somewhere. It's crazy. He'll put it on billboards, he'll put it on top of doorways. It's just like all over the place, which is insane. I have another side story about, signs that we get from people that we've lost. For me, it's his name. For my mom, it's feathers. If she sees a feather, it's like a
It's like,
signal to her that he's there, you know? And so it was their anniversary last year, and she had worked all day, and she was driving home, and she's just sad because she hadn't seen any feathers, and she's like, "What the fuck? Like, it's our anniversary, and
hmm.
like, I haven't gotten one sign from you." A bird hits her windshield. Like,
Oh, my-
feathers everywhere. And my dad was like the goofiest person ever, like not serious, sarcastic man. And so that is exactly the type
it's
of
like,
thing that he would do to my mom too. It's just like, "All right, bitch, here's your fucking
here's
bird."
your bird.
And so she was picking out feathers from her grill, just like,
It's like
"You asshole."
she wanted feathers and she got them.
Yeah, so it's that's funny too, but since then I've talked to him multiple times like while astral projecting and like checked up on him, and it's just very very cool that I can he mostly most of the time he's just in the background of my dreams, like not even interacting with
Not
my
like an
dream.
active
Yeah,
participant, but he's like
he's just
there.
watching, just kind
Yeah.
of like checking in and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But I obviously know that he's checking in nowadays too because I see his name all over the place. Like I know he's everywhere. And we were just talking about this before, where time doesn't exist outside of this plane, you
Yeah.
know? So, you know, we're all connected. Everything's connected. And I don't want to shove my beliefs down your guys' throats. Believe whatever you want to believe. But people that we've lost, they're never really gone. They're all here, and they're watching you, and they love you, and they're here to support you. You know what I mean? And they'll show it in different ways, and that way that means something to you is different than what, my mom has feathers. I have his name, he's just very blunt with me, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's all connected, and they're still there, and we're still there, like even after we die. Like that's not the end. Like you can't kill consciousness. It
Yeah,
just
it's like,
is.
yeah, I know. I've always been like, where does it go?
It's like the
You know?
fabric of reality is consciousness. It's that is what God is. It's what the universe is. You know what I mean? It's something that's super important to me, and hopefully gives some kind of comfort to everyone who has lost someone or will lose someone. Is no one's ever really gone, and they're there with you, and they see you grieving them, and they're there for you. Which it feels a lot better for me knowing that, like, he's here, and
Yeah, they're still with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's doing goofy shit too to my mom, like throwing birds at her windshield and shit, you know? Like he's still himself. And, you know, some people might not believe in stuff happens after you die, and you can believe whatever you want to believe as long as you're happy and it helps you internally, and you know, maybe it's all a psychology thing, but my experiences with astral travel and lucid dreaming is like it's so profound to me, and it's something that I can't convince someone of, and I don't want to
They
convince them
just
of
have
it.
to like experience it.
Yeah, and it's just something that it's not, it doesn't really matter if it's real or not. What matters is how you feel about things and how you choose to act and go about your life. And the real message is you never know what someone's going through. You know, always choose love, always choose empathy. Don't react to things. Allow yourself to cry. You're not weak when you're sad. You're not weak when you're depressed. You're weak if you don't ask for help or try to get help. You know what I mean? Everybody who's struggling deserves to be helped and should ask for help. And I think that's all that I have to say about it. Do you have any closing words?
I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head. I think for at least for me, like kind of looking into stoicism a little bit, kind of it covers a lot of the same ground. It kind of helps me process different things that I'm either feeling or thinking about, or just helping me deal with my emotions and stuff. But yeah, definitely look into that too.
Yeah, if men want an outlet that's not red pill but has all of the good stuff from red pill, stoicism is good
It's
good
actually pretty
secondary.
good. I mean, like those problems have been around forever, and people have been finding ways of dealing with those problems. It's just kind of funny that solutions have been around since the dawn of time. So definitely check that out.
Hell yeah.